Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and today we're going to be comparing the all-new 2020 Honda Passport to the 2020 Honda Pilot. This one's the Elite package, and that one is the new Black Edition. So, as always, we're going to do a quick walk around on both the vehicles. Then at the end of the video, I'm going to decide which one is the better route to go. A huge shout out and thank you to Stockton 12 Honda for providing us with the Passport and with the Pilot as well. Definitely check out the inventory in the link below. Let's get into the video. Under the hood of the Passport and the Pilot, we have the same exact engine. So we've got a 3.5 liter V6 under here and a 3.5 liter V6 under there. 9-speed automatic transmission, 9-speed automatic transmission as well. 280 horsepower, 262 pound-feet of torque, and again 280 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque. Now the only thing that's different is the fuel economy between these two. That one is 1924. So 19 around town, 24 on the highway, whereas this one is 1926. Now the only real difference, other than obviously the difference in wheelbase I could find, is this one has two 45mm tires on 20-inch rims, whereas that one has two 65mm tires. So I'm wondering if the extra tire is the reason for having less fuel economy, but yeah. Other than that, I can't really find out like a legitimate reason why that one has better fuel economy. So yeah, this one gets better fuel economy, so I guess it wins. Without having these cars side by side, it's actually hard to tell the differences, but once you do have them side by side, you can tell the differences a little bit. So the hoods on both of them look identical, and then the actual headlights themselves, again, they look identical. Honda logo's all the same. That one says Black Edition, and the grille, that's gonna be a difference. But the difference comes with the turn signal situation. So the turn signal on the Pilot, you can see, is right there, whereas on the Passport it's down below right next to the fog light, but then the fog lights are pretty much the same. But then the front bumper right there, you can see that's all like body painted right in that little area, whereas on the Passport here it's kind of like this little plastic part that comes up, and then the grills are different as well. So they're super similar on the front, but just a little bit different. Now like I said, the tire and rim setup is pretty much identical. We've got two 45mm there, 265mm here on the Passport, 20-inch rims, 20-inch rims. So the tires here are just a little bit, I guess, more narrow, I should say, compared to the Passport, but they both have blacked out rims. In terms of design, I'm not a fan of like thicker spokes, so I definitely like the design here on the Pilot just a little bit more. They have the same kind of like plastic fender flare setup, so it's a little bit darker there on the Passport side, but they have that kind of like the same plastic fender flare setup that goes along the whole SUV. Mirror setup is identical as well. So let's head to the back. So we've got the key fob here for the Pilot. You've got a couple functions: your unlock, your lock, remote start, and then the tailgate release, and then the alarm system. Now if we lock it, we can hear it remote start, so it just takes a moment. And you'll see a little bit coming out the back, but here's that 3.5 liter V6. Now if we press it again, that'll shut it off. Now if we hold down the tailgate release, that'll actually open up the rear hatch on the Pilot. Now actually coming into the rear itself, you can see that the storage space back here is pretty decent. There is a little bit more under this little cubby right here. You can get a little cargo cover. Now to actually throw these seats down, you just kind of have to pull that little lever right there and the seat throws down. There is no latch all the way back here to get the second row. You have to go up to the second row to do that. But when you do want to pull the third row back up, just kind of pull that little part of it and then put the headrest back up, and then you're good to go. Now when you're done with everything in the rear, there's a button right up here. Just press that and then that'll lower down the rear hatch. Here's our key fob for the Passport. So it's got the Honda logo on the back. I mean, it looks identical, so it has all of the same functions I just went over in the Pilot, but we're gonna start it up to see if it sounds any different than the Pilot. Yeah, I'm not noticing any difference. It sounds identically the same, and I expected that. It's the same engine and all that. So press it again, that'll shut it off. Now we're opening up the rear hatch here on the Passport, and now that the hatch is actually open, notice that there is a little bit more trunk space. If you fold down the third row, obviously you'll have more trunk space there in the Pilot, but this is actually pretty good. This, you can fold down the second row. You just press that little button right there. It'll throw it down. Do get a little power outlet back here. The floor mats are right there in that area. But if you like pull this little latch up here, there's a little bit of extra storage. And then we do have a couple cubbies here on both sides. And then finally, when you are done, just press this button up here, and then that'll shut that one back down. Let's go over things in the back of the Pilot and the Passport. Now I'm just going to mention most of the differences between the two, which there's actually not a whole lot. So obviously badging to be different. This is going to say Pilot Black Edition. That's going to say Passport Elite. that's all the normal stuff. Now, the biggest difference that I'm noticing is the exhaust tip. So this one has the exhaust that's out the side that you really can't see unless you kind of like pop here under the car, then you can see it popping out. Whereas this has like prominent exhaust tips out the back and the bottom. And then I'm noticing here where you can see that there's kind of like a little extra light down there at the bottom, whereas this one is just kind of like a reflector. Now the actual taillights here, I'm noticing that the taillights here on the side, it's identical and it comes here, but it doesn't go onto the car. Whereas here on the Pilot, same light, but then it goes over onto the rear tailgate. Coming to the back of the Pilot here, we're gonna look at the door panel. So we've got nice soft touch here with the red stitching. There is a little screen you can pull up for the back passengers, a couple cup holders in this area. And then we do have captain chairs in the back of the Pilot. So you can just pull that little latch to pull them down. I will be sitting in these in just a moment, but we've got red contrast stitching. I like all the perforations and how they put like little red accenting within them. Now over here we've got all of our climate controls. We do have heated seats back here. It is a separate climate. There is an entertainment system in the back of this particular Pilot, so it's a little kind of TV screen that you pull down. And now here's a moment of truth. So we're gonna get in the first part, and in this little first part here, actually I'm gonna shut the door. Legroom is plentiful. It's actually just, it's very comfortable. Like I've got a ton of legroom in here, and headroom is really good. Now the fun part. So we've got to kind of maneuver ourselves into the third row here. Okay, well, now that we're in the third row here, again, legroom is kind of cramped back here. Otherwise, headroom's actually really good. I mean, I've got a decent amount of headroom, and if you're wondering, about 5'11", so I mean, I wouldn't want to be here for a long period of time, but if I needed to get here in a squeeze, then I would. And then when I am ready to leave, just kind of got to walk back through there and we're good to go. Coming to the back of the Passport, we can look at this door panel here. Again, more of the leather, no red contrasted stitching though. We still get the same little screen right here. Now this one is just 2 rows, so just a regular bench here in the back. The cool thing about this is it's kind of got like little square pattern on it, white contrasted stitching. For the seats, you get little cup holders that pull out from this little area. No TV up top. We do have kind of like the whole climate control system here with the heated seats, all that kind of stuff. Little power outlet that you actually have to twist the outlet itself on both of them to actually use it. Just a little bit of child proofing there. And yeah, let's actually pop in. So popping into this, just as easy to get in as the Pilot. Space seems pretty much identical to what's in the Pilot, so no problem. And then headroom seems like it's about the same. But now that I'm thinking about this, right here may be a little bit more cramped than what the Pilot has. So you definitely get a little bit more rear room for the passengers in terms of like the actual leg room. Now I've got keyless entry up front, so one touch to lock it. To unlock it, just put your hand on the back of the door handle, that'll unlock it. Now looking at this door panel here in the front, we've got kind of the leather padding here with the red contrasted stitching. All of our window controls are in this little area. Couple memory seat controls, nice little black trim. That's for the tailgate, that's your gas cap. Now the seat at the front here says Black Edition at the top. Got red contrasted stitching with all of our power adjustments there on the side. Pedal layouts just down below, the hood latches right there. This is for your parking sensors, your lane departure assistance, collision warning, stability control, and then this is the mirror adjustments with your kind of eco mode, and then the steering wheel is going to be manually adjustable. Now you guys are going to notice that you got the same system here on the Passport, so I'm going to kind of go over everything, just mainly go over the differences. So the door panel, everything's the same except you don't get that red stitching there, but all of the other controls are identical to what's on the Pilot. Now the seats, obviously it doesn't say Black Edition at the top. It does have these kind of cool little squares though, just like the back seats, and then white stitching instead of the red stitching. You can see everything else though, all the controls, everything is all the same as what was in the Pilot. Now we're gonna start things up in the Pilot. Turns red right there, and I do want to show you guys the starting graphic on this. It is going to be identical to what's in the Passport. So when you do start it up, kind of does this cool little starting graphic and everything comes to life. We've got the steering wheel here in the Pilot. If we zoom in on the steering wheel, we've got the Honda logo in the center. Very nice smooth leather all around the like whole steering wheel. Controls for the adaptive cruise control, that's to keep in the lane. The heated steering wheel right over here. This is all for the center stack with your voice command controls. That's your stock for the lights. Also turn signal, and that's your windshield wiper stock. But remember the steering wheel, because the steering wheel in the Passport's a little bit different. Now with the gauge cluster here, you can see that when I like rev a little bit, it's kind of cool what it looks like with the RPMs. I just like that little graphic. But there's a couple different menus. The all-wheel drive torque system, that's a pretty cool thing that it shows in terms of the menus. But other than that, for the gauge cluster itself, it's pretty simple setup. So we've got the center infotainment system. If we pop it in reverse, the backup camera will pop up. Got a couple trajectory lines that'll turn with the steering wheel itself, which is actually pretty nice. It turns orange when you turn the steering wheel. But if we go back, we can go over the rest of the infotainment system. So like the navigation function right here pops up pretty easily. The response time on it's pretty cool. By pretty cool, I mean it's responsive. The cool thing is the cabin talk. I went over that in the pilot review, where you can have like, basically you can talk through the headphones of your kids, or you can talk through the back of the car. So that's a nice little touch on the infotainment system here. Now the climate controls are all in this little area just down here. You got a little DVD player, heated and ventilated seats up front. We get wireless charging with a couple charging stations. Couple cup holders in this area. This is our gear selector. We'll go over that in just a moment. This is a little bit of extra storage with a couple more charging ports. Now we've got the glove box over here, decent amount of storage, and then some nice black trim just up above it. Now with the gear selector, you press it in for park. For reverse, you press that button. For neutral, you press that button. And then that's to do the shifting. This is the drive modes. So we're going to put it back into park, and that's your auto stop start. So for the drive modes, you've got these four little drive modes: normal, snow, mud, and sand on the Pilot. Up top, we've got a little sunglass holder that also doubles as a mirror to look at the rear passengers. Fully black headliner here, and then we can open this up so you can see the rest of the sunroof. We've got all of our light controls up there, and yeah, that's it for the Pilot, honestly. So on the Passport here, we're going to go over things a lot quicker because everything is almost the same. So push button start with the graphic, all of that is the same. The only noticeable difference that I've noticed here is the steering wheel kind of is grippier here on the Passport, whereas on the Pilot it was all smooth leather, like at the top and the bottom here. On the Passport, the Pilot here is smooth, but in the Passport it's kind of like this rough stuff. All the controls on the steering wheel identical. The controls on the back identical, same paddle shifters. That's all the same. Gauge clusters identical. Infotainment system. All of this is the same here. The only thing that I noticed is there is no cabin talk, and I'm guessing that's because this doesn't have a third row and you don't really need to talk through a microphone to talk to people that are just behind you. Just a thought there. But yeah, other than that, the infotainment system with the backup camera system, I mean, you can see it's all the same. This whole system down here with the climate controls and the heated ventilated seats, that's all the same. Got the wireless charging pad. I mean, all these controls. This is like storage here, whereas this is where the CD player, or yeah, the DVD player, Blu-ray, whatever you're gonna call it, is there on the Pilot. The gear selector is all the same. Drive modes are identical too, with the auto stop start cup holders. This trim piece looks a little bit different, but the functionality on it is the same, and there's this cool little slider thing. But you still get little charging ports down there. Armrests, kind of neat little touch right here, so pretty easy to use. The glove box is identical, and you even have the same black trim up top. And then if we actually go up here to the top, I mean, you can see at the top here, all the functionality on it's the same. So you still get this same little thing to look at the kids in the back, still get the same little sunroof, black headliner. The only difference is there's no DVD player at the top here, so there's nothing that you need to worry about there. And yeah, I mean, that's the interior here on the Passport. It's pretty much identical to what is on the Pilot. Let's quickly go over pricing. So the Passport's about 45 grand before any market adjustment. The Pilot is about 50 grand before any market adjustment. So, I mean, roughly speaking, it's about a $5,000 price difference between the Passport and the Pilot. Now, here's what I'd say. If you need the third row practicality and all of that, you do have a little bit more equipment on this. Obviously, you get the DVD player, cabin talk, all that kind of stuff. So just a little bit more equipment, not a whole lot. And then you do get the third row, longer wheelbase. I mean, you can see just how much longer the Pilot is compared to the Passport itself. So if you do need the added practicality, all that, the Pilot's definitely worth it. And if you actually get a Pilot in the Elite package, just like this Passport is, the price is really only about a $4,000 price difference. So 4 grand more, you get the third row, all that added practicality. So I think it's worth it. But if I had to choose which one actually wins this competition, I'm gonna have to go with the Pilot, even though it's more money. I love how this black edition looks. I just think overall, just all the touches on it, other than the rear end, I like the exhaust tips on the Passport a little bit more. But I feel like all of the touches in general on the Pilot look better. And I mean, they sell way more Pilots than they do Passports, and it's just because it's a more practical vehicle that has more real life applications compared to what the Passport has. So Pilot wins. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. That is going to sum things up for today's video. I wanted to thank Stockton 12 Honda for providing us with the Passport and the Pilot as well. Definitely awesome for them to hook me up with that. Check out their inventory in the link below. If you're stopping for the first time, please subscribe, comment down below what you think, and then I will see all of you in that next video.